The prospector steps off the gangplank and onto the mud of San Francisco in 1849. His boots sink instantly. Portsmouth Square spreads before him, a chaotic sea of canvas tents crammed together so tightly that a man can barely walk between them. Every few steps he hears a different language: English, Spanish, Chinese, French, German, all of them shouting, bargaining, arguing over the price of a shovel or a sack of beans. He turns toward the bay and counts the masts. Over 600 ships sit abandoned in the harbour, their ropes frayed, their hulls rotting. The crews jumped ship the moment they heard about gold. Now the vessels sit empty, some stripped for lumber, others used as floating warehouses or even makeshift prisons. The air hits him in waves. Sea salt mixes with the sharp tang of campfire smoke from 1,000 cook fires. Then comes the foul stench of raw sewage. There are no sewers here, no garbage collection. The streets are mud and filth. Rats scurry between tents. A man lies drunk in the gutter. Another haggles over a mule. The prospector pulls his bandana over his nose and wonders if he has made a terrible mistake. But the rumors of gold pull him forward. He tightens his grip on his pack and pushes deeper into the tent city. The prospector remembers the day he left New York Harbor. He stood on the deck of a side-wheel steamer, wedged into steerage among 200 other men. Barrels of salted pork and crates of pickaxes filled every spare inch. The ship groaned as it pulled away from the pier. The journey to California would take 5 months around Cape Horn. But he chose the faster route. He crossed the Isthmus of Panama by canoe first, then by mule, through steaming jungle trails. Mosquitoes swarmed his face. Fever crept into his bones. He watched a man collapse on the trail and never get up. 30% of those who attempted the crossing died. Cholera, yellow fever, dysentery. He buried 2 companions in shallow graves under dripping vines. Finally, he reached the Pacific and boarded another ship north. The deck was crowded, the food spoiled, the water rationed. But when the ship rounded the Golden Gate and he saw the hills, he forgot the misery for a moment. He climbed into the Sierra foothills, his legs burning, his pack heavy. Then he saw it, the American River, a ribbon of grey-green water cutting through the rocky canyon. Men lined its banks, bent over pans, rocking cradles, shouting with joy or cursing their luck. He had arrived. The prospector kneels at the edge of the South Fork of the American River near Coloma. The water is shockingly cold. It numbs his fingers within seconds. He holds a 12-inch tin pan in his hands. He scoops gravel from the riverbed, then dips the pan and begins to swirl. The lighter sand and mud wash over the rim. He repeats the motion again and again, over and over. His back aches. His knees are raw. For weeks he finds nothing, just black sand, tiny pebbles, fool's gold that glitters but crumbles. He is about to give up when he spots something, a tiny flake of gold, no bigger than a mosquito's wing. It catches the afternoon light and winks at him. His heart pounds. He pinches it carefully and drops it into a glass vial. It is the first real reward he has seen in a month. He knows he needs to work faster. He builds a wooden rocker from a split log, a simple cradle with a screen and a cloth apron. He works with a partner now. One man shovels gravel into the top. The other rocks the cradle and pours water. They process 10 times more gravel per hour than with a pan alone. The flakes start to add up. A pinch of dust, then a few more. It is not a fortune. Not yet. But it is enough to keep him on his knees in the freezing water. He sinks onto a blanket, laid over pine boughs. The tent canvas flaps in a freezing wind. His body aches from hours of rocking the cradle. He eats his beans and bacon from a tin plate. There is no salt, no sugar, just the same meal every night. He saves the grease to waterproof his boots. In the morning, he walks to a Mexican camp cook's fire. He buys a tin cup of coffee. The price is 50 cents. An egg costs $1. He pays in gold dust, pinched from his vial. The coffee is bitter but hot. It is the only warmth he will feel all day. At night he walks to Hangtown. He enters Bigler's saloon. The room is loud with men and smoke. Lanterns flicker over a faro table. A dealer shuffles cards. Miners crowd around, each holding a small stack of gold pieces. He watches a man place a $20 gold piece on a card. The dealer flips. The gold vanishes in 2 minutes. The man walks away empty-handed. The next man steps up. It is the same cycle. He feels the pull to join. He touches the vial in his pocket. He remembers his empty pan from last month. He turns and walks back to his tent. He walks into Sacramento on a Sunday morning. The streets are mud. The wooden sidewalks are crowded. He passes Brannan's general store. The windows are clean. The shelves are stacked with boots. Each pair costs $50. Pickaxes hang on the wall at $30 apiece. He has seen these same boots in Boston for $5. Here, a merchant can charge 10 times the price and still sell out. He steps inside. A cigar-chomping merchant stands behind a brass scale. A miner places a pouch of gold dust on the counter. The merchant weighs it carefully. He nods and slides a bottle of cheap whiskey across the wood. The miner grabs it and leaves. The dust in that pouch was a week of hard labor. The whiskey cost the merchant pennies. He walks along the wooden sidewalk. He hears Chinese laundry workers calling out. A Jewish tailor sews denim pants in a tiny shop. A French restaurant offers soup and bread. The whole world has come here to sell to miners. None of them dig, none of them pan, but they all leave richer than the men who do. He watches a merchant count his day's take. Gold dust piles high on the counter. He realizes the real fortune is not in the river. It is in the store. He stands in Downeyville on a warm afternoon. A crowd gathers around a makeshift courthouse. It is a single room with a plank bench. A man is on trial for jumping a claim. He took another miner's stretch of river. The judge is a local storekeeper. There is no lawyer. The verdict is by show of hands. Hands go up. The majority vote guilty. The thief is banished from camp. He is lucky to keep his life. Later that evening, he hears a crack outside a saloon. A revolver. He runs to the sound. 2 miners lie in the dirt. A boundary line was crossed by inches. A few feet of gravel cost 2 men their lives. The camp buries them before sundown. There is no sheriff, no law, only the men and their guns. He hears stories of San Francisco, the Vigilance Committee of 1851. A murderer was dragged from a jail cell. The jail was too weak to hold him. The mob took him to a rooftop. They tied a rope to a wooden beam. They dropped him. The crowd cheered. He thinks about his own claim. He thinks about the men who would take it. He keeps a revolver in his tent now. He sleeps with one eye open. He walks into Nevada City and sees a machine that does not look real. A water cannon. It is called a monitor. It sits on a tripod. A nozzle wider than his chest points at a hillside. A man turns a valve. Water explodes from the nozzle. It hits the hill with a roar. Dirt, rock, and gravel tear loose. 50 tons an hour. The hillside melts into a brown river. He watches for 10 minutes. The hill is gone. A new canyon appears. He walks downstream to the Feather River. The water is the color of chalky coffee. It is thick with mud. He sees a trout floating belly up, then another, then dozens. They suffocate. The gills are clogged with silt. The river carries the debris all the way to the valley. He follows it to Marysville. He finds an orchard. Peach trees stand half buried. Tailings from the Sierra have washed over the trunks. The farmer stands on the roof of his house. The mud is up to the windowsills. The farmer says the river rose 4 feet last night. He says the mining companies own the law. He says no one can stop them. The man looks at the brown water. He thinks of the clean creek he panned last spring. That creek is gone. The whole Sierra is bleeding into the valley. He wonders how long until his own claim gets buried. He rides into Sonora. The camp is quiet, too quiet. He sees a row of canvas tents. The flaps hang open. Belongings sit inside. A tin cup on a stump. A bedroll half rolled out. A pan with a crack in it. He calls out. No answer. The creek is panned out. Every inch of gravel has been turned. There is nothing left. He walks to the post office. Letters are stacked on a shelf. They are addressed to miners. Some letters are months old. They were never claimed. He picks one up. The name on it is a man he buried last spring. Cholera took him in 3 days. Another letter is for a man who was shot over a claim on the American River. He puts the letter back. He steps outside. A lone Chinese man kneels by the creek. He works a wooden pan. The man sifts through the tailings left by white miners. He finds a few tiny grains. He collects them in a vial. The white miners laughed at him. They said the creek was dead. But the Chinese man finds what they missed. He works slowly, methodically. He does not give up. The man watches him. He thinks about his own poke. It is light. He has maybe 2 ounces of dust left. He wonders if he too will end up sifting someone else's tailings. He stands in Colton Hall in Monterey. The room is plain. Wooden benches, a desk at the front. 48 men sat here in 1849. They drafted a constitution. He holds a copy of it. The paper is crisp. The ink is black. It says, California is a free state. It says, no slavery. It says, the boundaries stretch from Mexico to Oregon. The men who signed it were miners, lawyers, and merchants. They wrote the rules for a place that did not yet have rules. He puts the paper down. He travels east to the Sierra. He visits Bodie. The town is a ghost. The bank vault is open. The door hangs on its hinges. Inside, the shelves are empty. Poker chips sit on a table in the saloon. A glass of whiskey is half full. Dust covers everything. He feels the cold air. He hears only the wind. He walks out to the street. 30 years ago, 10,000 people lived here. Now, it is just him and the ghosts. He goes to Sacramento. The Capitol building is grand. It is made of stone. It has a dome. It was built with gold rush tax money. He stands on the steps. He thinks of the tent city that was San Francisco in 1849. He thinks of the men who died in the diggings. He thinks of the merchants who built this building. And he thinks of the gold. Some of it is in these walls. Some of it is in museums. Most of it is gone. The gold rush changed everything. It made California a state. It made the railroad. It made a legend. He looks at the dome. He knows he was part of it, even if he never got rich. He was there. He takes a stagecoach east from Sacramento. The road winds through the foothills. He steps off at Columbia State Historic Park. The wooden facades are exactly as they were in 1853. He walks the empty main street. The boardwalks creak under his boots. A sign reads, Wells Fargo. The windows are dark. The saloon doors swing open. Inside, the bar is polished. No one is there. He runs his hand along the counter. The dust is gone. The tourists will come tomorrow. But today it is quiet. He leaves Columbia and heads to Marshall Gold Discovery State Park. The air smells of pshwan and dry earth. He walks to the replica of Sutter's Mill. The wheel is still. The water in the tail race is still. He touches the original stamp mill that sits nearby. The iron is cold. He imagines the noise, the crash of hammers on rock, the roar of the river. Now there is only wind. He walks down to the American River. The water is clear. He kneels and dips his hand in. The gold is mostly gone, but the scars remain. He looks upstream. The banks are bare in places. The hills are hollowed out. Hydraulic cuts are still visible. He remembers the tent city. He remembers the fever. He remembers the men who left everything behind. He stands. He brushes the dirt from his knees. The gold rush is over, but the land remembers. He turns and walks back toward the road. The ghosts are quiet today. He is one of them now. He is part of the dust.